Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something everyone's experienced but maybe not fully understood: conflict.
Hmm.
And we're going way beyond just arguments,
Right.
We're really digging into how disagreements happen and even more importantly,
Yeah.
how to handle them
Yeah.
so everyone wins.
Absolutely.
You gave me a script called Conflict Resolution and Negotiation Techniques to get us started.
I did.
So I'm excited to see what we can pull out of this.
Yeah. Let's jump in.
First things first,
Mhm.
can we even define what conflict is? Because
Okay.
it seems like it's not always a screaming match.
Oh, for sure.
Sometimes that's like this weird tension you can feel, but no one's saying anything.
You're right. You had a key point there.
Okay, good.
Conflict is really any time needs clash or values or even just how people see things.
Ah,
It can be as loud as a fight or as quiet as, like you said, avoiding eye contact.
well, oh,
And this is important. Conflict isn't always bad.
oh, that's interesting. So how do we tell the bad kind from the kind that's actually good?
Good question. Think of it this way. Bad conflict. We get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
It's blame, getting defensive, things escalate.
Yeah,
It hurts people, nothing gets solved.
makes sense.
But positive conflict, that's when disagreement helps us.
Okay.
We get more creative, we understand each other better.
Mm.
It's like disagreement is the fuel, but what we do with it is what matters.
So it's not the conflict itself, but how we, approach it.
Exactly. Imagine a team. Everyone agrees all the time.
Uh-huh.
They might miss huge problems or better ways to do things.
Right.
But if they challenge each other respectfully, that's when the really good stuff comes out.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do we get to that positive mindset? It's easy to say that,
Right.
but when you're in the middle of it, staying calm is hard.
Oh, I agree.
So what can we actually do?
This is where we need techniques.
Okay.
And one of the most basic but powerful is active listening.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It's not just hearing words.
Mm-hmm.
It's really understanding the other person.
Their feelings, what they need, all that.
All of that.
Honestly, I'm often just waiting for my turn to talk.
Uh-huh. Many of us are.
So how do I get better at active listening?
You got to shift your focus.
Okay.
When they're talking, don't plan your comeback.
Right.
Really listen to their tone, how their body's moving, their emotions.
Hmm.
And then, this is key, you reflect it back to them.
So I show them I get it.
Yes. You might say, sounds like you're frustrated because,
Uh-huh.
or help me understand why this is so important to you.
Okay, so I'm not agreeing, but I am showing I'm trying to see their side.
Exactly. That alone can calm things down
Interesting.
because the other person feels heard, even if you disagree with their idea.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about actually saying what I need?
Right.
Active listening's one side,
Right.
but I got to communicate my stuff too.
This is where I statements are goldy.
Okay.
You're not blaming them. You're saying how you feel
Give me an example.
instead of you're always late. Try. I feel anxious when you're late because I worry something happened.
Oh, so it's taking responsibility.
Yes. And it invites empathy, not defensiveness.
I like that.
Even small change in words, but huge EE in how it comes across.
This is giving me a lot to think about. But what if we're stuck just arguing the same points over and over?
Happens all the time.
Ooh, yeah.
It's because we're focusing on the symptoms, not the root problem.
Like putting a Band-Aid on when you need surgery.
Perfect analogy. You gotta find the cause.
But how? Sometimes it feels so tangled up, I don't know where to start.
It takes digging, but it's worth it.
Okay.
Ask yourself, what need isn't being met for either of you?
Mm.
What beliefs are you both holding that might be part of the problem?
So it's going deeper than the surface fight.
Exactly. Ask open-ended questions, really listen to the answers,
Right.
and be ready to be wrong about your own assumptions.
This is good stuff. And it seems like it applies beyond just me and someone else.
Absolutely.
Like this could help at work, in communities, even between countries.
You got it. Whether it's a personal argument or nations negotiating, these skills are the foundation.
Active listening, communicating clearly, understanding what's really going on.
Yep. That's how we find solutions that work.
And speaking of solutions, that brings us to negotiation,
Oh, yeah.
which is like the next level up from just resolving conflict.
It is. It's not just ending the fight. It's finding an agreement that moves us forward.
Okay, I am ready to dive into negotiation.
Let's do it. But I think our listeners could use a moment to process all this.
Good point. We've covered a lot.
We have.
So everyone, take a moment to digest.
When we come back, we're talking negotiation, giving you the tools to handle disagreements and reach goals you both can be happy with.
Okay, I'm ready for Negotiation 101. Where do we even start?
It's a lot like resolving conflict. Preparation is key.
Oh, so it's not just winging it?
You can, but you might end up with a deal you regret later.
Oof, yeah.
Before any negotiation, you gotta know your goals.
Like, what do I absolutely need to get out of this?
Yes, your ideal outcome, but also your walkaway point.
The point where I'm like, nope, this isn't working anymore.
Exactly. And what you're willing to compromise on.
Okay, so knowing my boundaries, what I can be flexible about.
And that's where your BTNA comes in.
Right, BPNA. Before you explained it, it sounded kind of scary.
Uh-huh. A lot of acronyms do.
But it's just, what's my best option if this whole thing falls apart?
Your plan B. Having a good BTNA gives you power.
Oh, I see. Because if I'm desperate for any deal,
You're going to take anything.
yeah, exactly. But if I know I've got other options
You can walk away from a bad one.
and probably get a better deal in the first place.
It shows you're not just desperate.
Right. It's not about being mean. It's about being smart.
Negotiation's about informed decisions.
And that includes knowing the other person,
Yeah,
right?
huge. You got to research their needs, what motivates them.
Like, what are their goals? What pressures are they under?
Exactly. It helps you find common ground.
This is like when you got to give a presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing your audience is everything.
Great connection. It's all about communicating strategically.
Okay, so I've done my homework. I'm in the room. Now what?
Building rapport is huge, even if it feels weird.
But how? If there's already tension, it seems like the opposite of what you do.
It starts with truly listening, showing respect, even when you disagree. You might say, I get why you're concerned about, or things like that.
So I'm not faking agreement, but I am showing I'm trying to get where they're coming from.
Exactly. You're building a bridge, not a wall.
I like that image.
And from there, you can start finding shared goals.
That Venn diagram overlap. What do we both want?
You got it. Now you're working together, even if you got to compromise to get there.
So how do we do that? Is it just going back and forth with offers?
You can, but open-ended questions are more powerful. Instead of, will you accept this? Try, what would make this work for you?
So I'm getting them involved in the solution.
Exactly. Their answer tells you a lot about what they really care about.
And I got to be actively listening still, right?
Always. Words, tone, body language, it all matters.
Like I'm a detective looking for clues to solve the case.
Exactly. Now let's add a powerful tool. Framing.
Framing, like putting a picture in a nice frame.
Kind of. It's how you present things.
Give me an example.
Say you're negotiating salary.
Oh, that's the tough one.
Instead of just the number, you frame it as the value you bring to the company.
So I'm shifting the focus.
Yes. It's not just money. It's about the bigger picture, the benefits for both sides.
This is making a lot more sense. But what if emotions get out of control?
Happens all the time. That's where emotional intelligence matters.
So knowing how I'm feeling and how they are.
You got it. Am I getting frustrated? Are they defensive?
Right. Because if I don't realize I'm upset, I'm going to make bad decisions.
And sometimes the best thing is to take a break.
Oh, good point. Just cool down.
Everyone gets a chance to breathe, come back with a clearer head.
What about when the other person is just tough? Like they want to win no matter what.
There's techniques for that too. One is called anchoring.
Anchoring. Like a boat.
Exactly. It's about setting expectations early.
Oh, I see.
Your first offer, even if you know you'll compromise, it sets the tone.
So start high, even if I got to come down later.
Within reason, of
So
course.
it can't be ridiculous.
But a strong anchor shapes the whole negotiation from the beginning.
This is giving me a whole new way to think about this. It's not about winning or losing.
Right.
It's more like a dance where you got to be strategic but also understand the other person.
I like that. And the more you practice,
The better I'll get.
exactly, it becomes more natural, you'll be more successful.
This has been so helpful. I want to try this out, see how it changes things.
Me too. I think it's time for another pause, let everyone absorb.
Yeah, good idea. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
So take a moment, everyone. Think about how this applies to your life.
When we come back, we'll walk through a real-world example.
All right, let's see this in action. What's a real-world example where this all comes together?
Okay, picture this. Two co-workers, Sarah and David, both need money from the same budget for their projects. Oh, I can see where this is going. Tensions are high, deadlines are coming up.
Yeah, classic.
Neither one wants to give an inch.
So it's like me versus you right from the start.
It feels that way, but that's where these skills come in. Okay, so what's step one? Instead of digging in their heels, they gotta talk.
Like a meeting, but with the goal of understanding each other?
Exactly. not just to plead their case.
Hmm.
They start by really listening to each other's project ideas
Asking questions, not just waiting to talk about their project.
and saying, hey, I see the value in what you're doing.
Okay, so they're shifting the whole mood.
From competition to problem solving.
So they've listened, they see both sides.
Mhm.
Now what? The budget's still limited.
This is where B10A comes in.
Oh, right. Their backup plans.
Maybe Sarah can scale her project down or find money somewhere else.
Hmm.
David might adjust his timeline or team up with another department.
So knowing they've got options
Yeah.
gives them power
They're not trapped. And they can use framing to make collaborating more appealing.
instead of just, there's not enough money.
They talk about how both projects could help the whole company.
So it's about the bigger picture, what they're both trying to achieve.
Exactly. And of course, emotions are gonna come up.
Oh, for sure.
That's where they use their emotional intelligence.
Taking breaks if they need to.
Acknowledging how the other person's feeling, even if they disagree.
Right, because ignoring those feelings just makes it worse.
And then those open-ended questions to brainstorm.
What would make this work for both of us? That kind of thing.
Maybe they combine parts of the projects or stagger the timelines.
So the solution's not obvious at the start. They got to work together to find it.
Exactly. And once they do reach an agreement,
Got to write it down.
yes, budget, timelines, who's responsible for what.
So there's no confusion later on.
This whole thing shows that conflict, even though it's tough.
It doesn't have to be disaster.
Right. With the right approach, it can actually make things better.
We get new ideas, we grow, our relationships get stronger.
You got it. Conflict's gonna happen. It's part of life.
Mm-hmm.
But it's what we do with it that matters.
I love that. This whole deep dive has given me so much to think about.
Me too. Hopefully our listeners are feeling the same way.
I'm sure they are, ready to take on their own conflicts, big or small.
Using these tools to turn disagreements into something positive.
That's what it's all about. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
And remember, conflict is an opportunity, not a roadblock. Keep those skills sharp and you'll be amazed at what you can achieve.